Good morning, everybody. This is AKA Heather Joy, and you have just boarded the lifeboat. Good to see everybody. Let's see here. Just looking at my notes. I just had a thought. Okay. Anyway, it's good to see everybody. This the boat's an incredible place. I just when I discovered it in October, I watched one live stream and was just blown away. I was so impressed. It was Mark and Tommy, and I just thought, these guys are offering light and hope to people. And I don't know, I was really drawn to it. There was just something about it. I thought, I want to be a part of this. I wanted to know more. And it was just it was so strange how the whole thing came about. Because I wasn't looking. It just popped up there on my YouTube feed one day, and I don't even know what made me play the video. I don't know. I'm really glad, really glad that I did, because I am enjoying this immensely. I am learning so much about myself and the work that I still need to do on myself, but I'm learning so much. But it's a wonderful opportunity. And if there are any of you out there that have an inkling to do the same thing, if you have something you want to share, if you've been thinking about it, please reach out to Tommy and I, and let's see what we can do, because it does so much good for you personally when you continue to learn and grow and share these things with people. And it's just a wonderful thing. So I just wanted to add that in. Before I go any further, I had better run through the rules that we have here on the life. But we got 4 simple rules. The first one is, this is not a political channel, so we don't discuss politics. We all know how icky that can get. We Tommy can discuss them. It's his channel, and it's his discretion. And when he does talk about when he puts politics into the conversation, it's appropriate. So anyway, the second rule, this is not a religious channel, and it's fine to say things like, I'm going to pray for you, or you might make a statement like, I couldn't have ever found my sobriety without the help of God or my faith. Things like that are just fine, but absolutely not. It's not okay to ever say something like, my God is better than your God, or for someone to tell another person that they're not getting into heaven for some reason. That's none of that. Okay. Not a good idea. Let's see. The third one is, Tommy always says, if you cannot control your mouth, then you cannot control your life. And I tend to agree with him on that one rather wholeheartedly. So there's no swearing. Please refrain from cursing, in the live chat and the comment section both. The fourth one, look, you guys, I'm memorizing these now. I'm getting better. I have to look at my notes once for that. Anyway, the fourth one, there is absolutely no place on this boat for mean people. Trolls need to stay under the bridge where they belong. That's my opinion. If you get caught, just being mean, for meanness sake, then you're going to get bound. And those I don't think that's asking a lot of anybody to follow those rules. Basically just, be an adult. Anyway, I wanted to talk today about the power of emotional attachment. And first, I need to explain a couple of terms and explain a little bit about what that means. Before I jump into that, though, there were a couple of things I wanted to just throw in. The first one is, yesterday, my husband and I celebrated our 19th wedding anniversary. And so, when I sit back every year at this time, when I sit back and think, about, the last 19 years of my life with my husband. This is, my second husband, and this is my forever husband. But I remember, I told him when, before we were even engaged and before we got married, I was very open. I told him about my past. I told him about the arrests and everything. I told him everything about my addiction. And, he knew just from what I had told him, what was going to happen, what to expect, things like that. But he really didn't. He really didn't know what he was in for. And I really put this poor man through the ringer, you guys. The first 6, 7 years were really, really, really difficult. And I remember it was in 2008 when I was in rehab for 6 months, and when I came home, neither of us knew where we stood in our relationship. I knew I wanted to stay in the relationship. I knew I still loved him. He didn't know. He didn't know if he wanted to stay. He just, he just needed time. And so for a long time, we just existed in the same house. We even slept in the same bed, but emotionally, our relationship was definitely at a standstill. And the longer time went on, uh, the more things seemed to just drag. Every time I would try to bring things up, with my husband, he didn't know. And I didn't understand at that time that he was really suffering with a lot of issues from his childhood. And it was a really difficult, icky time. But I knew I loved this man, and I knew I wanted to work through it and stay with him. And after, years, I had a feeling, I got to do something. I cannot just keep existing like this. I need to know, I felt like I wanted to move on. And so I just made the decision to just start sharing myself with him again. Sharing my thoughts, sharing what I was thinking and feeling, and just things that I was doing from day to day. Um, Things like that. I know that might sound a little silly, but we hadn't been sharing anything with one another really, other than, just the things that you have to say to your spouse to get through the day, and to get things done. I mean, but we weren't, our relationship was definitely at a standstill. And so I decided, I'm just going to pretend like everything's wonderful, like it was at the very beginning. And I just started talking to him all the time, and I was very patient. I didn't expect anything in return. I just kept at it and kept at it and kept at it, and sometimes it was very discouraging. um, but you know what, over time it worked. He started to come around. I Let's see. Yeah, Todd. Yeah, we were together but apart, definitely. um, but finally, I don't know. It started. It took a long time, and like I said, I had to be very patient. But it did. It worked. I mean, he started to become interested again, and it was a very slow process. But today we are better than we've ever been as far as our relationship. We trust each other. We know we're there for one another. I mean, it's a wonderful thing, and I am so grateful. I'm so grateful he stuck it out with me. I know I've put him through hell, and I'm just telling you guys this because I want you to understand that you might be in a position right now where you you can't see how things are ever going to improve or get better, and it can be very discouraging. And I just want to reassure everybody that it's it's definitely doable. And it takes work. And I had to do a lot of work on myself, in therapy and counseling. uh, but oh, it is so worth it, you guys. And I'm so glad he stuck it out with me because he's my best friend you know and it's good. It's wonderful, and I'm not doing this to brag or anything. I just want you guys to understand that it is possible. It really is. It requires, that the other person begin to reciprocate too. But I just want you guys to know it, there if you're at the beginning of you're just trying to get out of your addiction. If you're at that point, it's a very discouraging time. And very often at that point, we look at our lives and we look at all the bridges we've burned and all the damage we've done, and it seems like a rather hopeless case. um it's not, though. you know Hang in there and stick with it, because you're going to get stronger. Sobriety is going to get easier. And the longer you hold out that sobriety, the more people around you that watch you, and the people that you care about, they start to see there really is a change. It takes time, it takes commitment, it takes work. But again, it is doable, and it is so worth it. I promise you, it is so worth it. Really is. Let's see. Oh, okay. Something else. I don't know. Have any of you um full of hope? You haven't wasted 30 years. It might feel like that and seem like that at times, but there's a lot of things you have learned, and that you've gotten stronger through that time. Please don't think you've wasted. I mean, a lot of times it feels like we waste a lot, but sometimes that's the only way we learn. I know this noggin of mine is really hard, and it takes a lot to get through. I learned the hard way, it seems, with almost everything, but it's not wasted if you choose to pick yourself back up, dust yourself off, and keep going. It's not a waste. Okay, please don't think that. We'll hope it's not a waste. Let's see. Okay, yesterday my husband showed me some videos on YouTube, and I had never seen or heard about this type of therapy before, but it's TRE. Let me think. It's tension and trauma release. What's the? I can't remember. Anyway, um, very interesting, and it's supposed to be a way of allowing your body to release a lot of the pent up tension, because your body holds your emotions in. It holds tension in. That's why so many of us that struggle with mental illness and addiction end up with chronic illnesses and things like that later. It's because your body does hold it in, and it does make an impact on your body, especially over time. And so this therapy is supposed to be a way of allowing your body to release a lot of this pent up tension and trauma. And it did not. My husband was doing it, and it was working well. I couldn't even get it started. I was so frustrated, and it's basically your body just will shake almost. It's crazy. But I'm definitely going to look more into it. But I was trying and trying and tried it. It wouldn't work, and I don't know. I think I need a professional to help me unlock something. But I know it definitely stirred things up, because I've had some wild dreams, and it really started to affect my stomach. But anyway, I'm really going to find out more about this. But have any of you guys heard about this? That's what I was wondering. Not really, huh? Let's see. It's really interesting. I want to know more about it. So that's definitely a rabbit hole I'm jumping down uh after church today. I'm going to look more into it. Um so yeah, I will definitely be bringing back some information about that, because it looks like it could potentially be very helpful. They were using, I guess they use it on a lot of soldiers who have experienced, horrible things in combat, and they've got PTSD. They've used it on prisoners of war and refugees, and I mean, but I guess it can help just about anybody. But it's fascinating stuff. So I'm going to look more into it, and I'll definitely tell you guys about it. And then the other thing that I heard, this was really interesting yesterday. Um, Fibromyalgia, of course, is it's kind of an autoimmune disease in a way, But it's something that a lot of people that, have had a history of um, anxiety and depression and childhood trauma and things like that, they end up with, with fibromyalgia. It's basically your body's just in chronic inflammation all the time, and some days are worse than others, but it's painful. And for a long time they have thought that it was more of a rheumatic disease, meaning that it was starting in the tissues or the bones and the joints. And there was a doctor I was listening to yesterday. I guess it's kind of controversial, and a lot of scientists are arguing over it right now. But there's something about what he was saying that just, when you hear something and it just rings true to you. And that he was explaining that they have been able to observe that in the brain, um, when you are feeling pain, and that, okay, when anybody has pain, that pain is not relieved, your body only becomes better at letting you know there's pain, and they've actually been able to observe in a brain what they call, what did he call it? It was not branching but stemming or something like that, but where one of the neural pathways in your brain, that would light up and let you know that you're hurting. In the case of fibromyalgia, it would branch out and create even more. And they were able to show also that emotions would actually trigger the all of the neurons to fire in excess, way more than they need to. So not only is your body, creating more nerves and more neural pathways to feel the pain, but it's also, just firing over and over again, way more quickly than it should. And it was, induced by an emotion. And I just thought, wow, I was excited to hear that, just because I think they're getting closer to finding out the true cause of fibromyalgia. I personally think that it's trauma, it's emotions, it's all of that stored in your body over time. It's not released and taken care of, it destroys your body. That's my take on it, and I know that, a lot of people feel that way too, but they're still trying to figure it out. But I was excited to hear that yesterday. That was kind of cool. So anyway, so let's talk about emotional detachment. And I want to just quickly explain what I mean first. To detach from something, you first have to attach to it. And so, a basic definition of attachment would be, an extra part or extension that is or can be attached to something to perform a particular function. Okay. And that would be something like my vacuum cleaner. I can take the thing off the front that has the little brush that rolls. I can take that off and attach a hose and a bunch of other stuff. It's got a whole bunch of different attachments, but it's something that, it's like kind of like an accessory or a fitting, and it's definitely got a particular function. Okay. But it's also, as far as emotionally, an attachment would be like an emotional bond, affection or fondness or sympathy for someone or even some place or maybe some time in the past. But it's something that you kind of glom onto, in some way or another. And as let me explain a little bit more. As far as emotional attachments, that again, that's the feelings of closeness and affection. Um, and that helps sustain meaningful relationships over time. So detachment, would be where it's a disconnection from your emotions, particularly ones that are involved in interpersonal relationships. And I'm talking about negative emotions. That's what we're talking about. We want to talk about detaching yourself from negative emotions. Um, and I got a lot of this information from, what's her name? Lisa Romano. She's a counselor on YouTube out there. I've spoken of her before. She gave a really, really good um, video about this, and I'm really impressed with her work. Um, she explained, she's trying to explain it like this. Imagine you are moving. You pack up all your belongings in the U-Haul, and then you've got to drive the U-Haul, but you also need to get your car to the place you're moving. So you get a trailer and you hitch that trailer to the U-Haul, and you put your car on it, and you reach your destination. Once you reach the destination, you might want to detach your car, take it off, take that trailer off the hitch and all of that. It's a simple concept. But she wanted us to, she's asking everyone to think of it, think of detaching from negative emotions that same way, where you're completely severing, letting go. That's a difficult thing to do. Before I go any further, I want to explain something too, that she explained. And we have our conscious mind and our subconscious. Now, what I found interesting, I'd forgotten that we only function on our conscious level at about 5%, and everything else, our feelings and our thoughts and our patterns and our everything, most of the way that we function on the subconscious level, about 95%, even when we're awake. We're still functioning on that subconscious level. Our subconscious mind is much more powerful than our conscious mind. Our subconscious mind will hold on to our experiences, concepts, insights, perceptions, and they hold, your subconscious holds on to all of those things much, much longer than your conscious mind ever does. It holds on to things when you've long forgotten consciously. It's kind of it's your autopilot. We all do have an autopilot, and we run that way. And from your subconscious, that's your feelings, your notions, all of that rules your conscious self. Really, it rules your behavior, it rules your habits, it rules your decisions. And I know I've spoken of this before. Actually, you know what? Should I finish? Let's see. Let me just check something. Did I stick that in the notes later, or should I just get that out of the way now? Sorry, guys. Okay. Well, I'll go into the rest of that later. Anyway, like I said, the unconscious mind is much more powerful than your conscious mind. And there's a guy I follow. He's on YouTube a lot. His name's Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's kind of the meditation guru. He's doing some fascinating work with people. But anyway, this is what he said. He said healthy human brains can process 400 billion, with a B, billion bits of information per second. We are only conscious of about 2,000 of those 400 billion bits. Okay, that's how strong our subconscious is. There's a lot going on down there, and I really wanted to explain this to you guys so you understand where, if you're struggling with sobriety right now, or if you're trying to get sober, and you don't understand why you're doing this to yourself over and over and over again, I can guarantee there is a lot going on in your subconscious that is keeping you stuck. and the key to working that out is to trying to do a little bit of digging. It's really important. Our subconscious is huge. um let's see. Okay, and anyway, Dr. Dispenza was saying most of your reality is processed by your unconscious mind. Your subconscious mind kind of translates most of the information that it gets, and it can filter out the unnecessary things that you don't need, and that allows you to experience your life in a way that makes sense to you. We couldn't function if our conscious mind was processing, 400 billion bits of information per second. We couldn't function if our conscious brain was doing all of that. And I had never heard some of the things that he was putting out before, but it makes sense to me. And I was trying to think of an example to explain that, and the only thing I could come up with in my mind was kind of comparing it to your nervous system. You have your nervous system. There are many um, functions and reactions that you have that you do not have to think about. That, like, your mind, there's a special spot in your mind that keeps your heart beating, keeps your breathing, controls all of that. If you put your hand on a hot stove, your hand is removed from that stove faster than you can ever think about it. There are many ways that your nervous system is set up so that you can react to things without having to think about it. And I think that's kind of the way our subconscious is too, for processing a lot of the emotions and things that we feel, and things, beliefs, all kinds of things like that. That it takes care of all of those things, and only shares a little bit of it with us, but it makes it so we can function. um I hope that makes sense. um because you don't have to. The other thing I was thinking of, to like me just squirming in my office chair here. I don't have to consciously think about it to move. I just move. I don't have to tell each individual muscle, okay, now you move, and then you move. It just happens. And that's kind of how I understand it. Um, and I'll tell you what, just another thing that I've experienced myself that shows me just how powerful the subconscious is. I believe this was in 2000. No, what was it? I don't remember. It was probably in 98, I'm guessing. I started singing with a music group in Salt Lake. I used to live about 45 minutes west of Salt Lake City. And I um auditioned, and I was accepted in this group of women. It was a choir, a Balkan choir, and we'd sing folk songs in lots of Bulgarian, Croatian, Serbian, Hungarian, a little Romani even. I mean, we did some really fun stuff, but I loved it. I loved singing with these ladies. I loved, working on getting our harmonies just perfect. And, it was, and singing something in a foreign language. It was just a hoot, lots of fun. But, I loved the fact that we had one of the ladies in our group, is a professional opera singer. And so she was helping to train us and to keep us, to really, we all had already had to have had some experience and training with singing, to be accepted in the group and everything. But they really kept us on our toes and kept training us and everything. And there is a technique called the Alexander technique, that is used by a lot of people that are like stage performers, Broadway performers. Whether you are speaking or singing, this is something that can be very helpful. You have to work on your posture. You get perfect posture, and you learn how you can project your voice without damaging your vocal cords, and and you can do it loudly, and it just teaches you better control. It just, I don't know, it's basically a technique to kind of bring the best out in yourself as far as your ability to speak and to sing and to project it to people. And like I said, a lot of it is proper posture, and I had never done anything like that before. And this was a point in my life where I was still in active addiction, and I was struggling terribly with depression and anxiety. And I had my whole life, and so it was crazy. I always used to kind of hunch myself over. I didn't, it was an unconscious thing, but I was protecting myself. And I was always hunched over. I had poor posture, and my shoulders were always curved in. And I'll never forget, when our first day of training in this Alexander technique, the instructor came up, and I was sitting kind of like this, and she pulled my shoulders back and up, and she positioned my head. I had to pretend that there was a string that was pulling my head up. It was just trying to align my whole body up. But the moment that she moved my shoulders back, oh my goodness, I it was so embarrassing. I burst into tears, and I sobbed. I mean, I didn't cry. I sobbed, where I couldn't even breathe. I was sobbing. I had no idea that I was how much I had been protecting myself, and just that act of opening myself up. Oh my goodness. It just released a ton of negative energy out of my subconscious. I was blown away. I had no control over it. It was so embarrassing. Um, but you guys, it's our subconscious is extremely powerful. And let me explain a little bit more why our subconscious is, I know I've spoken about this before, but I want to go over it again. I don't think I explained it very well the last time. Hang on, I need a drink. Okay, when we are children, from birth to about the age of 7, we spend the predominant amount of time in in theta brainwaves. Again, that's a slower brainwave. It's actually, if you are hypnotized, that is those are the brainwaves that you're having if you are under hypnosis. You're focused completely internally. And let's see, the measure of these brainwaves are anywhere from 4 to 8 cycles per second, if you were curious. But like I said, from birth to about 7, most of the time is spent in theta. And because of that, when you're operating in theta, like I said, you're connected to your internal world. And for children, they live a lot in imagination and daydreaming, and they're not able to use their critical thinking, or they don't have their adult mind yet. They spend most of their time back there, and that's why you will find young children have such a hard time regulating their emotions, and they'll have complete meltdowns, because they don't have the ability yet for their prefrontal cortex to step in and be a little more critical about their thinking. And they're not adults yet. But when you are so open like that, and you are spending all of that time in theta, things are going to affect you very, very deeply. The core components of your personality, that's when they're formed. And that later becomes kind of your default mode, your network, how you function from day to day. But all of that is when when you're between birth and 7, that's when you're trying to figure out what kind of place is this. Can I trust my parents to provide what the things I need? Is this world, a scary place, or is it a pleasant place? I mean, you're trying to figure all of that out, and this is where your behaviors and your beliefs and the things that are most important. This is when this is all, you know, downloaded into here. And, because you are a child and you don't have the ability to use critical thinking yet, you can't see through any of the bad stuff that might be being deposited, into your subconscious. Um, it's, that's when your patterns, your behavior patterns, things like that are developed. Um, let's see, where did I write that down? Or yeah, I'll come back to that. Okay. So, you know, I'm explaining this because, first of all, to detach, like I said before, to detach from something, you first have to realize that you are attached to it. Um, and in this podcast, well, this video that she did, this Dr. Lisa Romano, um, and she was saying, do you want to feel less suffering? Do you want to have more mental clarity? Do you want emotional freedom? Um, she was saying that, okay, if you have thoughts like this, like, you require a lot of external validation to feel good about yourself, where you need people to like you, or, you need that validation from someone else, where it's definitely an external need that you're trying to bring in because you don't have that inside. Um, and thoughts like, so and so has no right to dislike me, or so and so doesn't treat me very well, just any kind of thoughts like that. Those are attachments. Those are your ego, your conscious mind, attaching to feelings and to beliefs and things like that. And to detach from those negative emotions, those negative feelings that you have about yourself, you first have to recognize that you are attached to them. That you are putting importance on those feelings and those emotions, and you're making them important. Now this is a very difficult thing to figure out, especially at first. If you have if you if you are, at the stage where you're just trying to find sobriety, trying to work out what's going on in your head, let alone in your subconscious, is a very difficult thing. And it really is. It's difficult for most people, and I think it's difficult because most people don't realize that they function both on a conscious and subconscious level. They function at the same time, in both. And that's why I'm spending time trying to explain all of this a little more clearly, and I hope it's working. But in order to make a conscious choice, like, I don't want, well, I can't even think of anything right now, but if you want to make a conscious choice, you need to step away from that dualistic mindset, where you've got most things going on subconsciously and just a little bit, of your conscious, um, working through things, and it's your conscious mind again, where you can think critically, where you can think as an adult, and work things out. Um, but I mean, it's really important to understand how all of that works, and that you do have two levels that you are functioning on, and most people are, um, this lady, Lisa, Romano, was saying, most people are unaware that they're unaware. And I really had to think about that for a minute. I'm like, wait, back up, unaware of being unaware. That's interesting. But she was trying to explain, you can, most people would think, like, say you walk into McDonald's, and you usually, um, order a medium fry, and you walk into McDonald's one day and you order a large fry instead. And people will think, well, but that's being conscious. That's making a conscious choice. Not so much. And she was also explaining, that there will be people that might, have a very prestigious career, have a PhD up on their wall, or have a lot of money in the bank, and that's how um, they think that because they've been able to attain those things, that surely they are aware, that that all of those things have been a conscious choice, and that from that every day, they're having these very conscious thoughts. And she was trying to explain that, most of the time, the thoughts that we have from day to day are very automatic thoughts. um and I was thinking about this, and I thought, she's right. Because, what do I do? Um, first thing in the morning. Um, I get up, I try to pray, I try to read something out of my scriptures. I've got little chicks that I need to take care of, I've got all of these, and then the chickens out on the farm. And, right now I've got trying to get a garden going. There's just all of these things. And so there are thoughts that I have that are the same every morning when I get up. I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. But, pretty much, if you think about it, you're working from your subconscious. You're not creating new thoughts. These are thoughts that you have every day. Does that make sense? Where you aren't creating a new thought yet. And most of us, like I said, I keep telling you guys over and over again, but we most of the time, we are functioning from our subconscious. We're kind of in default mode. I mean, and it has to be that way. It really does. It works. But you really do kind of carry on according to the programming you received when you were a kid. You can have, there are language patterns that are instilled in you, thought patterns, speech patterns, behavior patterns, even patterns of the way that you feel. I mean, all of these, are in your subconscious, and you function in default mode that way. The nice thing to know is that, if you have got a lot of negative emotions and things, trauma from your past, and all of these things are creating so many issues, you can change that programming. That it's not set in stone. Just because it's, running on autopilot doesn't mean that you can't change it. It does take a lot of work and a lot of effort, but it can be done. Let's see. Let me get my notes here. Okay. She just she spent a lot of time just trying to explain the concept and let people understand that you function on two levels all the time. And she explains, the way that you see yourself, if you value yourself, or you don't value yourself, if you have the ability to trust somebody, or not trust people, that can be an issue. Our self-confidence, all of that, our value, for many of us, our self-confidence, our self-worth, that all comes from outside validation because of trauma that has happened to us as kids. That's what we're wanting to correct. That got to change the programming. You need, it's people will find out, they'll spend, a doctor can spend, how many years in school, and then all of the residency and all the work on top of that, and they can think, they can set that goal, you know, and, once they finally attain that goal, I'm a doctor now, I should be happy, and they find out they're not happy. That happens to a lot of people. They'll think, okay, this will give me happiness, and they'll get to that point and they're not happy. It's the subconscious programming that needs to be changed, that you need to work with that. What I'm trying to get at is that your validation, your self-confidence really needs to come from here, not from anybody else, not from anything you've done. It needs to come from inside. And that is a hard thing to change. It really is. Um, and I was thinking about this the other day about, I why did in my family I have seen, there's just been a generational passing down of really bad behavior, of narcissistic abuse. And I can see that it's been passed down. And I stopped it. And I'm done. I'm not going to carry it on. But it's been bugging me, why did I not turn into a narcissist and behave the same way that my mother behaved? Because she was just behaving the way that her father had behaved, and he was behaving the way his father. I mean, it had been passed down. And what made the difference? Why did I say, no, wait a minute, this isn't right, and I want to stop it, I want to end it, end that generational curse? And I think what it is the fact that I lived next door to my grandparents, my dad's parents, out on our farm. They lived right next door to us, and I spent a great deal of time with them. When I was with my grandparents, I felt loved. I felt valued. I knew they loved me. I knew they cared for me. I knew that I was important to them. It was, and I'd be an absolute basket case if I hadn't had that. But I also had my other grandparents. My mother's from Australia, and her parents would come almost every year and spend probably half of the year here, just to spend time with her and with the grandkids, because she's an only child. And so it was a big deal, and so I got to spend a great deal of time with them as well. And I didn't see the issues that my grandfather had until I became a teenager. And then I started to get a taste of what my mother had been through. Ooh. But anyway, but I still, it was because of my grandparents at that critical age, from birth to 7. That's such a critical time. And what is going on around you is going to affect you up here for the rest of your life. And I think that's the key right there. I think that's why I was able to end this crazy cycle. Honestly, it has to be, because how else would I know? How else would there have been something inside me that was screaming out every time my mother told me what a rotten, stupid, ugly girl I was? There was something in the back of my mind that just screamed, no, that's not right. And there was like a tug of war in my mind all the time between that voice that said that I was a good person and I was valued, and the other side that, was just repeating everything that my mother was saying. And yeah, anyway, I think that must be the key. It was my grandparents that, instilled that in me, and it made a huge difference. It really did. Um, anyway, we need to recognize that. I'm just trying to reinforce the idea that, how powerful your subconscious is. You can, what's crazy, your mind, you can, I guess dreaming is a really good example right here. If you have a dream of something traumatic that you went through, and you're dreaming about it, and you wake up, because when I have nightmares, I will scream and wake myself up, And I'll wake up and my heart will be racing and I'll be sweating. I might be crying. I might, you have all of these crazy physiologic reactions. Um, and it wasn't anything that was happening except it was happening in my mind. That is how strong your subconscious is. And it can't tell the difference between a physical threat and an emotional threat. Your body gives you the same physiologic responses um, to an emotional threat as any physical threat. So it's crazy. It's even our immune systems, are affected by that. But our minds, especially our subconscious, are just incredibly powerful. Anyway, she said in order to live peaceful lives, we need to learn to look at the negative emotions that we are having objectively, instead of, and this is what is really hard, um, is looking at a feeling objectively. That's what she's talking about with emotional detachment. You have to get to the point where you aren't. I used to do this all the time. I would dissociate. I refused to think about certain things that I had been through. They were very painful, and I, I freaked myself out and thought that it just wasn't a good idea to feel them, and I would do anything not to feel them, which my addiction, I just kept taking pain pills, I was trying to flee from all these negative emotions. I didn't want to feel them. I didn't want to go through them. But that's exactly what you have to do. You've got to face those emotions. You've got to acknowledge them, before you can ever get rid of them. And that's the really difficult part. um, you've got to learn, to think about, something traumatic that has happened to you, and let the flood of negative emotions that are coming through with that, you need to let them out, just feel them and acknowledge them, but try to do it objectively, where you're more observing rather than feeling so much. I hope that makes sense. It's kind of a difficult concept, but it's an important one. You've got to learn to just feel those feelings, but not attach your conscious thought, and all your emotions. You can't attach all of that to it. You need to, kind of step back as an observer and just kind of let it run its course. When you start to do that, that's when you will be able to start to let go of all of these things that have been trapped down inside you so long. If you wonder, why am I constantly compelled to drink or to do, whatever drug, um, there's definitely something underneath that's pushing that. Um, this lady has got a 12-week course, and she uses a lot of meditation and journaling. She says that is the key, to being able to, first of all, slow all of these thoughts down so that you can observe them. And journaling, writing, is going to be a way of processing them and working through them. So I'm going to go ahead and purchase her 12-week thing. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to share with you the principles that I learned from it. But she spent like a whole video just on this, what I've been trying to explain to you guys. That's just how your conscious and your subconscious work, and the key to finding peace in your life, and to liking yourself, and to not being in pain all the time. The key to that is to be able to detach emotionally from the trauma. It's not an easy thing, but it's doable. I promise you it's doable. I've still got a lot of work to do, but I know I've been able to work through many things. to where I function quite well now. I still know that's one of the things I've been loving about coming on and talking to you guys all the time, because I'm picking up on all of the things I still need to work on. So it's really good for me. But I hope that makes sense. It's kind of a difficult concept to present and explain, but um, yeah, I hope that explains it a little bit. And this is just something I want to continue on. That's why I'm going to do this 12-week course, and I'm gonna share with you the principles that she puts in it. And I want to do that with a lot of different what's the word I'm looking for? I want to do that with many different modes of recovery. When you're things that might help with anxiety and depression, because I know one, just because something might work for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And I want to explore all of the different options and present them so that you guys know what there is out there, because there are so many different ways that you can find help to stay sober, and to get to the bottom of your issues. There are many alternatives, many options. But I think this was an important concept to understand about how your conscious and your subconscious work, and why you behave the way you do. Makes anyway, it makes sense to me. But let me just see who is in chat here. Oh, Ian DeVoe. I have never seen your name there before, so welcome. Let's see, we got Charlie and Zenwin and John Doe, Scooby, Full of Hope, Todd G, Rick Smith, Dennis N is here, Crazy Cat, John, okay, I already said John Doe, JT is here, let's see, Trish Killian, Dennis Race, let's see, M. Hunt, I wonder what he had for breakfast this morning. Let's see. I hope I haven't missed anyone. Oh, Lemmy's here. Nice. Uh-huh. Paul Sargent. Ray Ray, Mr. Ray Ray. Hope I haven't missed. Let's see. I see a James. Didn't I see a James there? I think I saw a James. Hi, James. I'm going to have a James in my family very soon. That's the name of my daughter's fiance. Let's see. Dilrod, Ethan. Okay, if I missed anybody, I apologize, but I sure hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday. It's a pretty day here. I don't think it's going to be too hot either, which will really be nice, because I hate the heat, guys. Not looking forward to summer. Anyway, my email is in the description box if you guys need to reach out to me. And I have been so busy, I haven't even opened my email in the past couple of days. So if you have sent me something and I haven't responded yet, I apologize. I'm gonna get to it. Anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And I just want to try to reinforce the concept that any of you can get sober and stay sober. You do have the power inside you. You really do. You can do this. I know, I have been there. I know how discouraging it can be. I know very well, but I promise you, you can do that. And, just even coming here and, coming to the lifeboat, there's so much help here. The people in chat, that's got to be what it is that makes the boat so incredible. There's so much support here. And it's a great place. I love you guys. I am praying for you. I pray for every one of you every day. You got this. Talk to you later.